When we took in my sister after her divorce, our neighbors brought over a meal and said, "Family is sacred. You're doing the right thing." A month later, we found out they'd been secretly meeting her every night, telling her we were controlling and taking advantage. Then she moved in with them. A week after that, she filed for emergency custody of our daughter. "They're unfit," she said. And when we asked why, she smiled and said, "Because they don't deserve happy endings." I live in Spokane, Washington. It's not a big city like Seattle, but it's got its neighborhoods, parks, schools. We bought our house here back in 2013. My husband Mark and I were finally doing okay, good jobs, a small mortgage, a quiet street. Our daughter Ellie is 8 now. Funny, smart, always drawing little cartoons and taping them to the fridge. She's the kind of kid who makes you believe you must have done something right. Things were good. Until Rachel showed up. Rachel is my younger sister. She's 5 years younger than me and always kind of bounced around in life. Bad choices. Drama. But I never held it against her. After Mom died, I was all she had. I put myself through night school while working 2 jobs, and I still sent her money when she was in college. When she dropped out, I was the one who helped her move. When her first serious boyfriend dumped her, I let her stay with us for 3 months. That's always how it was. I'd clean up, she'd thank me, and then go disappear until the next time. This time was different. Or at least I thought it was. She showed up one Tuesday night, late September. I still remember because the leaves had just started to fall. It was around 7:30, just getting dark. Mark and I were watching a cooking show, Ellie was doing homework. Then the doorbell rang. And there she was, Rachel, standing in our doorway with a red face, smeared mascara, and shaking hands. Behind her, an old Civic, overstuffed with trash bags, a laundry basket, and what looked like a cat carrier. "Brad cheated," she said. "That's all. He cheated. I caught him." She was in our bed. We let her in, of course. No questions. That's what family does. Ellie hugged her, Mark took her bags. I made tea. We stayed up late listening to her cry and curse his name. Over the next week, she got more settled. She helped make dinner a couple times. She made Ellie breakfast one morning and brought me coffee in bed. I actually told Mark that maybe this was her turning point. Then our neighbors showed up. Ben and Denise Miller. They live across the street, maybe mid-40s. They've always been the good Christian couple on the block, bake sales, church events, Christmas lights timed to music. They're polite. A little too polite, if I'm honest. They brought over a casserole and one of those handwritten notes with too much cursive. It said, "Family is sacred. You're doing the right thing." Denise smiled real big and said, "She's lucky to have you." Not every sister would open their home like this. I remember standing there in the doorway, casserole in hand, and feeling proud. Maybe we were that kind of family. The kind people admire. Rachel stayed for 4 weeks. And everything changed. At first it was small stuff. She started dressing nicer again, which was fine. But it felt off. Like she wasn't trying to feel better. She was trying to show off. She took longer in the bathroom, left her makeup all over the counter. She started working out in our living room in tight leggings with the blinds open. Mark started avoiding eye contact when she did it. I noticed. I didn't say anything. Then Ellie mentioned something strange one night at dinner. "Aunt Rachel was outside late last night," she said between bites of mac and cheese. Rachel froze. Then smiled. "Just getting air. Couldn't sleep." But the next night, I stayed up. Just to see. Around 1:40 a.m., I saw her sneak out the back door. She walked fast down the driveway and across the street. Right into the Miller's house. She stayed there for over 2 hours. When she came back, she didn't see me watching. She was laughing. quietly. To herself. That's when I started keeping notes. I didn't want to be paranoid. But things didn't make sense anymore. Rachel was acting bolder, moodier. She argued with me over small things. What we fed Ellie, how we scheduled her life too much. One day she said, "You treat her like a robot. No wonder she's anxious." That stung. Then Mark found something. A notebook. Tucked into a laundry basket in the guest room. Inside were pages of what looked like journal entries. But they weren't Rachel's thoughts, they were like logs. About us. She never lets Ellie out of her sight. Mark is passive. Doesn't question her. She controls the food, the bedtime, even the colors Ellie wears. It got worse. They should never have had a kid. That girl would be better off anywhere else. Anywhere else. We confronted her that night. I slammed the notebook down on the kitchen table. "What is this?" I asked. She didn't deny it. She just looked at us and said, "Maybe someone needed to take notes. Just in case." She left the next day. Packed her things, got into her car, and drove straight across the street. Into the Miller's home. She didn't even look back. A week later, we got served. Emergency custody. Filed by Rachel Miller, she had taken their last name. She said we were emotionally abusive. That we didn't allow Ellie to socialize, that she had seen dangerous signs in our parenting. That we were unstable. She claimed she was Ellie's safe person now. I broke down. We called a lawyer. Started the fight. But the worst part wasn't the paperwork. It wasn't the lies or the fear. It was what Rachel said when we confronted her. We waited until she left their house one morning, walking down the driveway like she belonged there. Mark and I blocked her path. I asked her why. Why she was doing this. She smiled. Not like someone who was happy. But like someone who enjoyed the damage. Because you don't deserve happy endings. I'll never forget those words. She didn't just want to steal my daughter. She wanted to destroy us. But if she thought I was going to sit back and let it happen. If she thought I was still the big sister who would forgive her again. She had no idea who she was dealing with. After she said that, "You don't deserve happy endings," something flipped in me. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I just nodded. I turned around and walked back across the street, into my house, and locked the door. Then I started digging. See, Rachel has always been good at lying. But not smart. She's impulsive, dramatic, and worst of all. She thinks people are too stupid to see through her. But I know her better than anyone. I raised her. I've seen every ugly part of her. So I knew if she was brave enough to go after Ellie, it meant she had someone helping her behind the scenes. And that someone was the Millers. I had this gut feeling they weren't just kind neighbors. They were too close. Too comfortable. I remembered how they welcomed her like a long-lost daughter, how they praised us one second and whispered to her the next. That wasn't kindness. That was planning. So I did what she never expected me to do. I fought dirty. First thing I did was install security cameras, front porch, backyard, driveway, even one facing their house. I knew if she ever tried anything, I'd need proof. And within 3 days, I had some. Rachel came over at 2 a.m., didn't knock, just tried the back door like she still lived there. The footage showed her testing the doorknob, then crouching under the kitchen window, just staring inside. Watching us sleep. Creepy as hell. I sent it straight to our lawyer. Next, I started watching the Millers. They ran a local daycare out of their home, a private one, mostly kids from their church group. No license displayed, which was odd. A friend of mine worked in child services, so I asked her to look them up. Nothing. Not a single registered daycare under their names. Not even a business license. Then I asked around. Quietly. I found a mom, Samantha, whose son had gone to the Millers for 3 weeks. She pulled him out after he came home with bruises. Said he told her that Miss Denise locks us in the playroom when we're bad. She reported it. Nothing ever came of it. I kept digging. I found 2 more parents. Same stories. Shady rules, strict punishments, always behind closed doors. I handed it all over to our attorney. Then we got our first win. Rachel's emergency custody was denied. The judge said there was no reason for immediate removal, and her evidence was weak and emotionally biased. We got to keep Ellie, but the case wasn't closed. The judge ordered a full evaluation, home visits, interviews with Ellie, school records. It was a temporary win. But it was enough. Rachel lost it. She showed up at Ellie's school, unannounced, and tried to walk her out of class. Said she was taking her home. The school called the cops. No charges were filed, but it went in the report. Another black mark on her side. And still, she didn't stop. One night, Ellie came into our room crying. Said Aunt Rachel had called her on FaceTime and told her, "You don't have to stay there. They're lying to you." That's when Mark finally snapped. He drove over to the Miller's house and pounded on the door. Ben opened it. Calm as ever, holding a Bible. "Stay away from my daughter," Mark said. "And tell that psychopath to leave us alone." Ben just smiled. "We're only doing what God would want," he said. "That child deserves love." I don't know how Mark didn't punch him. After that, I went nuclear. I called in every favor I had. I gave the child services report, the daycare complaints, the footage of Rachel at our window, all of it, to a reporter I went to college with. She worked at a local news station. A week later, a segment aired called, "Daycare of Discipline, Are Unlicensed Providers Hiding in Plain Sight?" They didn't name the Millers directly, but the photos of their house were blurred in the background. And people noticed. Fast. Within days, parents started pulling their kids out. A week later, CPS showed up at their door. Rachel's smug look? Gone. But she still had one last move. She filed a restraining order against me. Claimed I was stalking her. That I was harassing her neighbors, spreading lies, threatening her with violence. I had to sit in court and hear her say those words with tears in her eyes, like she was the victim. The judge didn't buy it. Denied. Then, finally, the real hammer dropped. One of the parents from the daycare came forward. She had audio. Her son had recorded something by accident on her phone, just kids talking, playing. Then, halfway through, a woman's voice snapped, "Stop crying or I'll lock you in the garage again." The voice was Denise Miller's. CPS moved in fast. Shut the whole thing down. And Rachel? She didn't just lose credibility. She lost everything. But I wasn't done yet. Once the daycare was shut down, the Millers stopped pretending to be saints. They went quiet. No more church events. No more fresh-baked cookies delivered with fake smiles. They drew their curtains. Cars stopped showing up in their driveway. You could feel the tension on the street like a storm waiting to hit. Rachel stopped showing her face for a few days. I thought maybe she was finally giving up. But I should have known better. 2 weeks later, we got a letter in the mail. From a law firm in Boise, Idaho. It was from my dad. Let me explain something. My father hasn't spoken to me in almost 10 years. We had a falling out after my mom died. He remarried within 6 months, cut off contact, moved to Idaho, and started a new life like we didn't exist. I gave up on him a long time ago. Rachel, on the other hand? She always kept in touch with him behind my back. I found out a few years ago and confronted her. She said, "You don't get to tell me who I can love." Now here he was, petitioning the court to become Ellie's guardian. The letter said I was emotionally unstable, vindictive, paranoid, and unfit to care for a child. He referenced the restraining order Rachel tried to get, and even used the daycare closure as proof that I was willing to ruin innocent lives to win. I felt sick. Rachel had gone crawling to the one man who could hurt me more than anyone. She told him everything, but twisted, exaggerated, poisoned. And now, they were trying to take Ellie together. I went numb. Mark didn't. He exploded. Said we needed to move. Leave Spokane. Start over somewhere far away. But I said no. If we left, they'd say we were running. I wasn't giving up my daughter. Not to Rachel. Not to the father who walked out on me. Not after everything. That night, something strange happened. Ellie came into our room around 3 a.m. She couldn't sleep. She had that look, quiet, scared, too mature for her age. I heard Aunt Rachel talking to someone outside, she whispered. She said you were gonna lose me. She said I'd be happier with people who really care. That was it. I decided we were done playing defense. I drove to the courthouse the next morning and filed for a full restraining order. Not temporary. Permanent. Against Rachel. I submitted every piece of evidence we had. Texts, footage, school incident reports, daycare audio. I included a personal statement from Ellie's school counselor, who'd been seeing her once a week since the custody scare started. Her report was clear. Ellie expresses fear about being taken from her parents. She reports feeling safe, secure, and supported in her home. Separation would likely cause emotional trauma. The judge granted a hearing. And then, another twist. 2 days before the court date, we got another call. This time from a private investigator. Mark's cousin in Seattle had hired him weeks earlier after we told him the whole story. We didn't expect much, but this guy turned out to be thorough. He found something. Rachel had been in contact with Brad, her ex-husband. The one who supposedly cheated and ruined her life. They'd been meeting in Idaho. Emails. Phone logs. Hotel receipts. Turns out, they never actually divorced. She lied. She never caught him cheating. She left him before he could file for divorce. Why? Because she found out he was about to file for bankruptcy. And guess who he'd named as a co-signer on some shady investment loan? Rachel. She ran. Hid. Lied about the cheating so we'd feel sorry for her. So we'd take her in. But Brad still wanted the money. And now, he wanted revenge too. We contacted him. He was bitter, broke, and angry, but he had records. Proof. Emails where Rachel bragged about finding a rich Christian couple who'd treat her like a daughter. Emails about Ellie. One said, if I play this right, I'll never need a job again. We took it straight to the judge. The restraining order? Approved. Permanent. Rachel was banned from coming near us or Ellie ever again. And my father? Once we submitted proof of Rachel's fraud and Brad's statement, he withdrew his guardianship request. Quietly. No apology. Just disappeared. Rachel tried to appeal. The judge denied it without a hearing. She was done. But I still wasn't. Because I had one more move. One Rachel never saw coming. After the restraining order, Rachel went quiet. Not just in Spokane, everywhere. She stopped showing up on social media. Her name didn't come up in the neighborhood gossip anymore. Even the Millers pretended she'd never existed. Denise and Ben sold their house within a month. Rumor was, they moved down to Arizona, but no one cared enough to confirm. Still, I wasn't satisfied. Because the wreckage she left behind, the stress, the fear, the way Ellie still checked the locks every night, it didn't disappear just because she did. We were healing, sure. But healing doesn't fix what's broken. It just stops the bleeding. I wanted accountability. Real consequences. Something that would stick. So I made one more call. To Brad. Rachel's husband. Or rather, still her husband, since she'd never finalized the divorce. He told me he'd filed an absentia, meaning she never showed up to sign the papers, and the court granted him the divorce without her. But he still had something I needed. Debt records. Turns out, Rachel had signed her name on more than just that investment loan. She forged her husband's signature on a second private line of credit, $45,000. Fraud. He'd been holding on to it, hoping to use it in a settlement. But I convinced him to press charges. I offered to help find her, to give statements, to do whatever it took. He agreed. Within a month, a warrant was issued for Rachel's arrest in Idaho. And she was picked up at a Motel 6 outside of Coeur d'Alene, living under a fake last name, working part-time at a front desk. She was charged with fraud, identity theft, and failure to appear in civil court. Brad testified. I did too. At the sentencing, I showed up. Sat in the back. She saw me when she walked in, orange jumpsuit, wrists chained, dead eyes. She looked older. Tired. Smaller somehow. But not sorry. Never sorry. When the judge asked if she had anything to say before sentencing, she looked right at me. I just wanted something for myself for once, she said. They had everything. They always had everything. She was sentenced to 18 months in state prison. No parole. The judge called her manipulative and emotionally dangerous. I walked out of that courtroom and didn't look back. Today, Ellie's doing better. She goes to therapy once a week. She doesn't talk about Aunt Rachel much anymore. But every now and then, she asks why people lie. Why someone who says they love you would try to hurt you. And I don't have a good answer. I just tell her the truth. Some people don't want love. They want control. And when they lose it, they'll burn everything down trying to get it back. As for me? I learned a few things too. I learned that family isn't sacred just because they share your blood. Family is the people who show up when it's hard. Who protect you, even when it's messy. And sometimes, protecting your family means standing up to the one person you never thought you'd have to. Even if it's your own sister. She said we didn't deserve a happy ending. So I made damn sure she never got one.